Within DiMaggio and Powell's argument of corporate and institutional isomorphism, there are multiple directives in which this tends to occur. There is coercive isomorphism, which is the idea that due to laws and regulations being made, a company or an organization may or may not be able to do something. Um, Such as previously there's been electric cars that have been um, canceled due to dangers because of lithium ion components. Um, One of these, I do believe it was the Koenigsegg. There's a video of it crashing and burning. I think related to Top Gear. Um, just as an example of one of the reasons that a government body may go out and find something to make a law against or a regulation against providing such a thing to the public. You also have mimetic processes. Um, so, in manufacturing, there is it's called the Six Sigma processes. It's a lean manufacturing process, a certification course I took. Started with Toyota, and basically what you do is you make limits, minimums, maximums, arrive times. Basically, you make start and stop buttons based on physical status of an object. Through that, they increased their efficiency and were able to provide a product at a lower price more efficiently, and were able to make more money that way. Um, the company I worked for at the time um, sent us all these classes, began to have us mimic these things throughout our organization with different rules on when you begin what processes and how much you have to have to be it for it to be quantifiably justifiable to do so. Like you're not going to start tapping holes unless you have such and such many parts because it takes this long to set up and this long to complete. And lastly, you have normative pressures. Normative pressures are a lot more simple to explain. They basically it's like doctors, nurses, psychologists, psychiatrists, things that require either a fairly decent or a high level of education or certification to do. Um, all of them are going to act similarly based on the fact of, well, there's only really maybe one or two ways to perform this surgery or to go after an issue psychologically. Um, uh, Psychology is a bit more open ended, but typically, if you went to the same college, had the same professor, you're going to go after the issue the same way based on pre disclosed and thought out theory and hypotheses. And typically, they found that they arrive at the same destination. But without that training, without those certifications, without that knowledge prior to, then they won't be able to arrive to that. So it's kind of its own pressure that makes things maybe not necessitated, but they have to follow a certain substrata of ideology in order to accomplish a goal. Um, Without that, kind of just shooting in the dark. But all three of these help to create the institutional isomorphic change, bringing one, laws and regulation, seeing what your competition does, what they do better, how they do it faster, and what is just through training, through certification processes, through generalized professional experiences, what would create the best outcome. through those three things, you can see a lot of these organizations and organizations change. They change their structure. Through manufacturing, you're going to put step by step by step right next to each other. Or if you have subcontracts where you hand the work to somebody else, pay them to do it, and then you get it back, you're going to find that they try to find the closest one. Once again, using that mimetic structure or mimetic process, because I've seen that's what works fastest. That's how it gets done easiest. And that's what's most efficient. They will arrange themselves so that that becomes a norm. So your big companies will have a lot of little companies around it that help source and feed what they're doing. And when you go see these big companies, or even go to apply to them, you can see that their culture, the organizational culture they've adopted or that they're creating, comes from the same kind of process. They want to know, well, their engineers have these degrees. Their laborers have these certifications for these machines. They have these many years, and they'll go forward that way. They want to create professionalism. They want to create an atmosphere where everyone knows what they're doing. They know their job and they know how to do it. And really, that's from the bottom to the top. That's the way it goes. But in a nutshell, that's what I would say is institutional isomorphism. Thanks.